Okay, we are good to go. Just let me turn on the laser point. Yeah. Okay, so welcome back, guys, for the problem solving session number 4 for the course Fundamentals of Semiconductor Devices. Just to introduce myself again, I am Soham Lakote, your problem solving TA for this course. I am currently a fourth year student at ISC Bangalore, working under Professor Gaurav Banerjee, and I will be solving the problems in front of you for all the sessions. And my research area is in the domain of analog and RF circuits. So now coming to the session organization, again it will be same. We will have a 60-minute session, then we will take a 10 minutes of break, and again we will have a 50 minutes of session again. And just to let you know, like I have caught some cold and have some body ache, so I may not be that energetic in today's lecture compared to my previous lecture. So please bear with me at least for today. And again for the recording and lecture slides, so all the recording will be uploaded in this YouTube channel. So if you guys want to know this channel, then please request me to send this link in the meeting chat section, either in the break or either towards the end. I will again put this link in the chat box, and all the lecture slides will be uploaded in the description section of the video. You will find one Google Drive folder link, and there you will be able to find all the lecture slides. Okay. Now coming to the problems. So first of all, we will just revise a few concepts that were taught and which will be helpful for us to solve the problems, right? So let's start with the PN junction under zero bias, right? So we had studied the semiconductors, P type, N type. We had studied the diffusion, drift, and all, right? Now it's time to move on to the PN junction, right? So now what is this? This is a PN junction, and this is what your metallurgical junction is. So on the left side you have a high amount of holes on the left side, the concentration of holes, and on the right side you have a huge number of electrons that are present, right? So now if you look, then according to diffusion, there should be a lot of diffusion that will happen from left side to the right side for the holes, and similarly for electrons from the right side to left side it will happen. And this is what has been shown in the figure 7.1 right over here. Now if we just zoom into it, then what is going to happen? See, how are we getting these electrons? You are doping with N-type material. For example, you are bringing phosphorus atoms, right? And phosphorus has 5 electrons in the outermost shell. So even if the 4 are getting bonded with other silicon atoms, then you still have 1 electron. So each dopant atom is bringing 1 electron with them, 1 electron with it, right? And when you move away that electron from that atom, then those atoms become positively charged, right? And they are immobile. They are immobile and they cannot move, right? These atoms cannot move. They are in the crystal. They are the part of the crystal, right? So now when electrons move from right side to left side, they leave behind these positively charged donor atoms, right? And similarly, when holes move from left to right, they leave behind negatively charged acceptor atoms, right? So now if you look at the direction of the electric field, you have a lot of positive charges on the right side, immobile positive charges to be clear, and you have a lot of negative charges on the left side. So as per the class 2 physics, you know where is the electric field direction, from positive to negative, right? From right to left, right? And so when the holes were trying to move from left to right, what is happening? This space charge region gets created, and since the electric field is directing from the right to left side, right? And where does hole want to go? There are a lot of holes on the left side, and on the right side there are very less amount of holes. So still diffusion, what you can say, the concentration gradient is there. So hole wants to move from left to right side, but because this electric field is directed from the right to left side, it will oppose the movement of holes, right? And similarly it will oppose the movement of electrons from right to left side as well, right? So this is what we have seen. And now moving to the energy band diagram, what we say, okay, see, we have not applied any bias, right? So my Fermi level is still constant, right? On the left I have a huge number of holes, so my EF must be closer to EV on the left side, and on the right I have a lot of electrons, right? So you can say if I have a lot of electrons, then my Fermi level has to be closer to the conduction band on the right side, right? So this is how we draw the energy band diagram. And the amount of bending that is happening in this EC and this EV, it is nothing but your Q times VBI. And what is your VBI? See, you have a space charge region, right? Some built-in potential get built up because of this positive and negative charges, and its formula, sir must have told you, is nothing but this KT by Q ln of NA nd by Ni square. Okay, this is what we have seen, right? Now moving to the next point regarding the charge density and the electric field, right? So if you look at the charge density, on the right side you have a lot of immobile positive ions, right? And on the left side you have a lot of immobile negative ions, right? So this is why you have a lot of positive charge density over here. This is nothing but coulomb per centimeter cube, that is charge density per unit volume, right? And over here, that's why you have a lot of negative charges over here, charge density. So now what did we do? Okay, we had the charge density, and using the Poisson's equation, we know if we have this charge density, then this dE by dx is nothing but rho by epsilon, right? So now from there, if I just integrate, because this is dE by dx, if I integrate, then only I will get the electric field. So if I try to integrate this charge density, right? So what will happen? This is negative. So if I try to integrate a negative thing, this is a constant thing, right? This is a constant value over here. So if I try to integrate negative constant, then I will get a negative ramp. That this is the negative ramp that I'm getting, right? And if I try to integrate a positive constant, right, then I will get a positive ramp. That's why you got a positive ramp over here, right? So, and what did we say? This Emax can be found out, right? And it is nothing but your Q times Nd times Xn by epsilon s, right? This is nothing but the dielectric constant of the silicon, and Xn is nothing but the extent of depletion on the n side, right? And moving on to the built-in potential, again, how you find the built-in potential? Now you have to integrate this electric field diagram that you are seeing over here, right? So the moment you integrate it, this is nothing but a linear function, right? If I integrate a linear, then I should get a parabola, and this is what I am exactly getting. This is a parabola that actually I am getting, right? So now moving to the, what are the values that we got? See, this is the depletion width formula that sir must have told you, right? 2 epsilon Si by Q into VBI 1 upon Na plus 1 upon Nd. And now Xn and Xp formulas I have directly written over here, but no need to remember this expression. You know how to find the Xn from W, right? You just have to use that, what you can say, Na upon Na plus Nd into W, right? So no need to remember these equations, and we won't be using these equations directly in questions as well, right? So now this was the revision for first few set of problems. Now we will try to solve few problems, and let's see how it goes. Let me turn on the pen. Yeah. So now let's see what is the first problem. So calculate the built-in potential barrier in a silicon PN junction at T is equal to 300 Kelvin for Na is equal to 5 into 10 to the power 15 and Nd is equal to 10 to the power 17, right? So what I will do, I will just solve this first part of this question for silicon as well as the gallium arsenide. This part number second, right? This is the homework, correct? So now let's try to see. So we want to find the built-in potential, right? So what is the formula for built-in potential? It is nothing but Kt by Q, correct? Ln of Na Nd upon Ni square, correct? So now let's try to put everything. We know everything. This is a very easy question. So Kt by Q, we can directly write it as 0.0259 because temperature is given as 300 Kelvin into ln of, what is the Na? 5 into 10 to the power 15. What is the value of Nd? 10 to the power 17, right? And for silicon, let me write it for silicon over here. Yeah, silicon, right? And what is the Ni? 1.5 into 10 to the power 10 the whole square, correct? So now if you just solve this value, right? So if you solve this value, then this value will come out to be around 0.736 volts, correct? And now let's try to do the same for gallium arsenide, right? So what is it? 0.0259, correct? Ln of, again the numerator is same because my concentration is not changing. So 5 into 10 to the power 15 into 10 to the power 17. Now what is the Ni for gallium arsenide? So if you have forgotten, Ni for gallium arsenide, okay, somebody wants to join? Yeah. So what is Ni for gallium arsenide? It is nothing but 2 into 10 to the power 6 per centimeter cube, right? So this is what, just a minute, let me hide this thing. Yeah, correct. So now what is this Ni? 2 into 10 to the power 6 the whole square, correct? So what this value will come out to be? This value will come out to be around 1.198 volts, correct? So you can clearly see the built-in potential for the same doping concentration for gallium arsenide came out to be higher compared to the built-in potential for the silicon, right? And this happened because the Ni for the gallium arsenide, like the Ni for gallium arsenide is way much lesser compared to the Ni for silicon, right? That's why your built-in potential came out to be higher for gallium arsenide, right? Now I hope this problem was clear. There was nothing, no tough thing to solve in that problem. Now let's move on to the next problem, right? So a silicon PN junction at T is equal to 300 Kelvin with zero applied bias has a doping concentration Nd is equal to 5 into 10 to the power 16 and Na has been also given to me. Now they are asking us to find out the extent of depletion in the N region, in the P region, the width of the depletion region and Emax, right? So now first let's try to find out the what is W, right? What is the formula for W? We have seen, right? 2 epsilon Si by Q times VBI into 1 upon Na plus 1 upon Nd. Correct? So now let's see, we don't know the value of VBI, right? First of all, I have to find this VBI, only then I can find the value of W, right? So let me write it as equation number 1 over here. Now what is the VBI? Kt by Q ln of Na upon Ni square, correct? So now let's see whether everything has been given to me. Na and Nd has been given and Ni I know for silicon, right? So Kt by Q is nothing but 0.0259 into ln of Na into Nd. So I am just directly multiplying them over here. 25 into 10 to the power 31 divided by Ni for silicon is what? 1.5 into 10 to the power 10 and this will be squared up. Correct? So now if you find this value of VBI, correct? So if you find this value, then the value of VBI that you will find out, it will come out to be around, okay, somebody wants to join? Yeah. Then the value of VBI that you will find, it will come out to be around 0.7184 volts. This is the value of VBI that you will be getting. Correct? Now once I know the value of VBI, then I can find out the equation number 1, right? Because VBI was the only thing that was not known to me. So now what I will do, put 2 in 1. Correct? So now let me move on to the next page. Actually it will be better. So now if I just substitute it, right? So W was nothing but 2, sorry, this is very bad. Yeah, 2 into epsilon Si was what? 11.9. This is a dielectric constant of the silicon, right? And I have to multiply it with the dielectric constant of the free space as well. 8.85 into 10 to the power minus 14. 2 epsilon Si divided by Q is what? 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19. So we have reached 2 epsilon Si by Q. Now we have to multiply by VBI also. What was the VBI? 0.7184, right? And once I have multiplied it, there was one more term, 1 upon Na plus 1 upon Nd, right? So what was the Na that was given to me? 5 into 10 to the power 16. And what was the Nd that was given? 5 into 10 to the power 15. This is a square root on this entire big thing. So please bear with that. So now if you try to find it out, then this value of W, right? This W will come out to be approximately 4.56 into 10 to the power minus 5 centimeters. Okay. Now this is the value of W that we got. Now the next thing that they had asked was the value of Xn and Xp. Now how to find the value of Xn, right? So I already told you, like in the equation also we have seen Xn is nothing but Na divided by Na plus Nd times W, correct? So now if I just substitute these things, 5 into 10 to the power 15, right? So if I just add, this is Na and no, sorry, this is Nd and this is Na, correct? So if I just add these two things, then it will be like 55 into 10 to the power 15, right? Into W. So it came out to be around W by 11, correct? So this value, if you found out, it will come out to be around 4.147 into 10 to the power minus 6 centimeters, right? So I will just highlight it over here. Yeah, correct. And similarly, you know Xn plus Xp is W, right? So Xp will be nothing but W minus Xn. Okay, somebody wants to join? Yeah. So Xp is nothing but your W minus Xn, correct? So it will come out to be what? 1 minus 1 by 11 times W. It is 10 by 11 times W. So this value, if you found out, it will come out to be around 4.145 into 10 to the power minus 5 centimeters. Correct? So we have found out W, we have found out Xn, we have found out Xp as well. So let's highlight them by A, let's highlight them by this by B, and let's highlight this by equation number C, right? So now the next thing that they had asked actually was this Emax, right? Now how to find this Emax? So Emax formula we have seen, right? How to find this value Emax? Let's see whether we have seen the formula. See, this was the formula that I was talking about. Q N D Xn by Es, right? So let me write it. Emax was nothing but Q times Nd Xn by epsilon Si. Note that this is just the magnitude because this is what they have asked me, right? So let's try to put everything. 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19. What was the value of Nd? 5 into 10 to the power 16. Correct? What is the Xn that we had calculated? Xn is nothing but 4.147 into 10 to the power minus 6. 4.147 into 10 to the power minus 6, right? And again you have to take this epsilon of Si, 11.9 into dielectric constant of the free space, correct? So now if you calculate this Emax, right, now this value will come out to be around 3.15 into 10 to the power 4 volt per centimeter. Okay, this became a mess over here. I guess I will write it in the next page. It will be better. So the Emax value that we have found out, it came out to be around, somebody wants to join, okay, yeah, so 3.15 into 10 to the power 4 volts per centimeter, right? So this is what we got. Now the question was clear. There was nothing tough in this question as well, right? So now let's move on to the case of the PN junction under the applied reverse bias. So now let me turn on the laser pointer. Yeah. See, now what is actually happening when we are applying the reverse bias, right? So the first thing that we said, like, okay, this depletion region will widen up, right? And now one more thing that happens is like this, what you can say, this built-in voltage, right? This built-in voltage, the bending that happens in the energy band diagram, it was initially Q times VBI, right? And now since I am applying the external bias, that is reverse bias, this bending that you are seeing in the EC and EV, it actually moves up, right, by the factor of VR. So now this is nothing but Q times VBI plus VR, right? And now how does it make sense? Because electrons, like this is a p side, this is n side, so there is a the amount of electrons that are there on the left side are less compared to the right side. So actually electron wants to diffuse from right to the left, right? But what we are doing, actually this electric field that is created in the space charge region, actually it is becoming stronger and stronger because we are applying a reverse bias, right? And if you want a small intuition of why this this space charge region is actually extending, see, what is the meaning of the space charge region, right? The space charge region is the region where you don't have any free carriers, right? Here you just, this is a p side, right? So here you just have the immobile acceptor atoms, and here you have immobile donor atoms, right? This is nothing but you have formed the positively and negatively charged ions, immobile ions, right? Now what you are doing, if you apply the reverse bias, that means you are applying a negative voltage on the p side. So whatever holes were there at this boundary, now you are pulling them towards the battery. So now already this region was depleted of free carriers, right? This region was initially having the holes, but these holes actually moved when I didn't apply any bias. These holes actually moved from left to right, leaving behind this negatively charged immobile ions, right? Now what happens? Now you are applying a negative voltage on this point over here. Now because of that, all the free holes that are present, they will start at getting attracted towards the left side. So now you are further depleting this region of any carriers that it may have. So here we didn't had any free carriers, but this region, let me turn on the pen, it will be better. Just a minute. Yeah. So now what is happening? Where is the pen? Yeah. So now what is happening? There were some free carriers, right? There were free holes that were present over here, right? So now all of them got moved to the left side because he had applied a reverse bias. Now this region, again, this is the extra region. For example, let me call it as delta. This extra region became depleted of free carriers, and again it became like what you can say, your immobile acceptor atoms, negatively charged immobile acceptor atoms. So this width that you are seeing, right, let me denote it by xp, it got increased by the factor of delta as you applied more reverse bias, right? So that's how this depletion region is getting increased. And we have seen like by how much factor it will get increased. Then you have to incorporate this factor, like this factor you have to incorporate VBI plus VR, right? and this is the amount with which, like, if you keep on applying the higher and higher reverse bias, your depletion width will keep on increasing, right? This is what we had seen till now, right? And now this is what all we need for solving the next few numericals, right? So let me turn on the pen. Yeah, so now yeah, go ahead. In the diagram. Okay, that's a good point. So now what is happening? Okay, let me just go on to this page actually. Yeah. So yeah. So here was your P side, here was your N side, right? So now let's say you initially had a nice looking conduction and valence band like this, right? So now this was your EC, this was your EV. Now this is our energy band diagram, right? Now energy band diagram, you must have heard this, right, in the lecture as well as in the books, right? We always draw it from the point of view of electrons, right? You draw it from the point of view of electrons. Now what you are doing, you are connecting a battery, right? This is a negative, this is a positive, you are connecting it like this. So now the P side is getting a negative voltage, right? And what is the energy of the electron? It is nothing but your minus Q into V, right? This is the energy of your electrons, right? So on the left side, if you look, if I apply a negative voltage, then what is going to happen? This E will be nothing but Q in minus of Q into this V is nothing but negative V, right? So now what does this mean? This negative got cancelled and energy is Q times V. What does it mean? It means that if I apply a negative terminal of the battery towards the P side, this side that you are seeing, right, it will actually move up. And if you look at the similar way, if you look at this N side, right, it will actually move down. And let's see if it makes sense or not, right? Initially you only had this Q times VBI, right? Now it became Q times VBI plus VR, correct? If you look over here, this left side is moving up and this right side is moving down, right? So what does this mean? This gap that you are seeing, right, let me highlight it by the delta. This delta will increase if the left side moves up, and if the right side moves down, this delta will increase. Similarly, this is the exact thing that happened. Here your delta got increased. From QVBI, it got increased by the factor of Q into VR. Is it clear now? Yes, exactly. You got it right. Correct. Correct. And one more thing that I forgot to tell you guys was regarding the concept of the quasi-Fermi levels, right? So what did we say? See, when we didn't apply any bias, right, what did we say? Our semiconductor material is in the equilibrium, right? And when the equilibrium is there, we only had a one Fermi level, right? The constant Fermi level, right? Your EC and EV can bend, but your EF will not be able to bend because the semiconductor material is in the equilibrium. Now what happened over here? Because this is the reverse bias and your semiconductor material is not in the equilibrium anymore. Now what happened over here, like we introduced the concept of quasi Fermi level, right? Now this quasi Fermi level, like on the left side you can see we have a p type material, on the right side we have a n type material. So on the left side you have this what you can say the quasi Fermi level for the EFP, and on the right side you have the quasi Fermi level EFN, right? And now as you can see, this EFN will be much closer to the conduction band because you have a lot of electrons on the right side, and on the left side if you look, you have a lot of holes, right? So this EF must be very close to EV, right? So this is how we got. And please remember this concept of quasi Fermi levels, it will be used in the next question, right? So now let me do one thing, let me turn on to the pen. By the way, just let me erase everything over here. Yeah, just a minute. Yeah, it's done. So now let me turn on the pen. Yeah, so now okay, yeah, now let me see what is given in the question. Consider a doped silicon sample at T is equal to 300 Kelvin. So the figure 5a depicts the energy band diagram corresponding to the thermal equilibrium, while figure 5b shows the energy band diagram under non-equilibrium condition. So this may be a semiconductor material, right? So they may have applied some bias voltage over here, and that's why this semiconductor material is not in equilibrium anymore. So that's why we have introduced the concept of quasi Fermi levels over here. You can see EFN, you can see EFP, right? And at the same time you are not able to see that EFN and EFP over here, right? Now let's see, correct? Now what they are asking us, so this is the first problem. what are the electron and hole densities in the equilibrium condition, right? So now let me look, this is the equilibrium condition, right? This is the equilibrium condition. So now what they are mentioned over here, EF minus EFi, correct? This is the only thing that has been given to me, 0.2982 electron volts. Now I have to find a formula which relates N, like the concentration of free electrons, with this EF minus EFi. Do I know such formula? Of course I know. N is nothing but Ni times exponential of EF minus EFi by KT. Right? This is a formula we had studied. There were two formulas. This was the first one, and another one was with respect to EC minus EF, right? But we don't know this EC minus EFi over here. We just know this EF minus EFi. So we have to use this formula. So now let's try to put everything. Ni has been given as 10 to the power 10, right? Exponential of EF minus EFi has been given as 0.2982 electron volts, right? KT is nothing but, this is electron volt, KT is nothing but 26 milli electron volts, right? 26 into 10 to the power minus 3 electron volts, it has been given in the question, correct? So this electron will go away, and if you calculate, then this value of N that you will be seeing, right, it comes out to be around 9.57, right, into 10 to the power 14 per centimeter cube, correct? So this is the value of N naught that we got. Let me write it as N naught, because in the equilibrium, right? So now 9.57 into 10 to the power 14, this is what we got. And now you know, for the equilibrium, the law of mass action is valid, right? It is not valid only in the case of when the semiconductor is not in equilibrium. So for the P naught, what I can do, it is nothing but Ni square by N naught, correct? Ni has been given as 10 to the power 10, so this will become 10 to the power 20, and I had just found out value of N naught, 9.57 into 10 to the power 14, right? So if we found out the value of P naught, then it will come out to be around 0.104, right, into 10 to the power 6 per centimeter cube. So the option number, which option matches with the what we want? So the option number 1 is clearly matching, right? So the answer to this question is option number A. This is the option number A, is the correct answer. So there was nothing difficult in this question. Now comes the next question. What are the excess carrier densities generated? So what are the excess carriers? They are denoted by delta n or dou n, right? Delta n, dou n, anything is fine over here. So now let me look at the other diagram. See what has been given in this other diagram. So now once the semiconductor is not in equilibrium, I cannot apply the law of mass action, right? But the formula that is still valid, is this N naught, N total is equal to Ni times exponential of EF N minus EFi by KT. Now what I did over here, see initially this was nothing but this was EF minus EFi, and since now we are introducing the concept of quasi Fermi levels, like we have two Fermi levels now. One we have EFN and another level we have EFP, right? So for the calculating the concentration of electrons, I have to use this EFN. For holes, I have to use this EFP level. So this is what I have done over here. This EF has been replaced with EFN over here, and rest all the stuff is same actually. So this is a concentration of total electrons, right? So N total is nothing but Ni has been given as 10 to the power 10 exponential of. Now we have to find one thing, EFN minus EFi. So we have to go back to the diagram and we have to see the quantity EFN minus EFi. Let me see if they have given it to me or not. So if you look over here, this quantity, right, 0.2984, just look at the arrow marks. This arrow is stopping at EFN, this arrow is stopping at EFi over here, correct? So now this has been given as 0.2984 electron volts. So let me put it, 0.2984 electron volts divided by 26 milli electron volts, right? So again the electron volt got cancelled, and if we calculate this N total, it will come out to be around 9.646 into 10 to the power 14, or just a minute, 10 to the power 14 per centimeter cube, right? So this is the N total that I got. But just look what they have asked me in the question. They are not asking me N total, they are asking me delta N. Now what is this N total? N total is, this is a total electron concentration. And what is a total electron concentration? Okay, so the first component is nothing but my equilibrium electron concentration N naught, and now the next thing that happened are the excess carriers that got generated. This is delta M, right? Somebody wants to join, just a minute. Yeah, So I have n naught and I have delta n over here, right? So now n naught I have already found out, right? So how can I write delta n? Delta n is nothing but n total minus n naught, correct? So n total I already have over here 9.646 into 10 to the power 14, and n naught I have found out in the previous question. It is a equilibrium electron concentration, right? When the semiconductor was not applied under any bias, or when there were no light shining, I just want this equilibrium concentration. So n naught value I have already found out, right? N naught is nothing but your 9.57 into 10 to the power 14. So 9.57 into 10 to the power 14, right? So this delta n value that you will get, so this delta n value, it will be coming out to be around just a minute, 7.638 into 10 to the power 12 per centimeter cube. Somebody wants to join? Okay, yeah, correct. So this is what you got. Sorry, this is really bad. Okay, yeah, so 7.638 into 10 to the power 12, this is the value that you got. Now this is only for delta n, right? Now what about delta p? See, I cannot apply this, right? N total into p total is equal to ni square. This is not correct because the semiconductor is not in equilibrium now. So again I have to do all this effort to find out the concentration of total concentration of holes, right? So how can I do that? P total, again I have to use the formula Ni times exponential of, now this time EFI minus EFP, right, divided by KT, correct? And again you have to go back and you have to see what is this level that has been given. So if you go back and if you see this EFI minus EFP, this is what we wanted. It has been given as 0.179 electron volts, right? So again I have to put it over here. So now let's put it. This is 10 to the power 10 exponential of 0.179 electron volts divided by 26 milli electron volts, right? So electron volt got cancelled, and if you calculate this P total, now it will come out to be around 9.77 into 10 to the power 12 per centimeter cube. So this is the P total that we have, right? And now again, what is this P total consist of? P total consists of my equilibrium hole concentration plus the extra carriers that got generated because of any other mechanism. Maybe I have applied bias, or maybe because of the shining of the light, right? So delta P will be nothing but the P total minus P naught, correct? So the P total is 9.77 into 10 to the power 12 minus P naught I have already found out in the last point, right? 0.104 into 10 to the power 6. 0.104 into 10 to the power 6. So this term is very small compared to this term, right? So the P naught will be approximately 9.77 into 10 to the power 12 per centimeter cube, right? So this is what we got, correct? And I hope this question was clear. If you guys have any doubt, then please feel free to poke me, because I guess this was the first question based on the quasi-Fermi levels, right? So please feel free to poke me anytime if you guys have any doubts. I will move on to the next problem. Now let's look at the problem number 4, right? So a silicon PN junction at T is equal to 300 Kelvin has a doping concentration of 5 to 10 to the power 14 acceptor atoms, and dopant concentration is given as 5 to 10 to the power 16. A reverse bias voltage of VR is equal to 4 volts is applied. Again they have asked me W, XN, XP and VBI, right? So now let's see how to solve this question. So first of all, we have seen, right, to calculate the value of W, I need the value of VBI, right? And to calculate the value of XN and XP, I need W, correct? So first of all, we have to find the VBI to find the value of W, right? So let's try to find the VBI first. VBI is nothing but KT by Q ln of what? Na Nd upon Ni square, correct? So now if I try to substitute it, let me check whether everything has been given or not. So silicon is there, so Ni I know, Na Nd has been given to me, KT by Q value I know, right, because temperature has been given as 300 Kelvin. So 0.0259 into ln of, so Na Nd I am directly multiplying 25 into 10 to the power 31, right, upon Ni square is what? 2.25 into 10 to the power 20, correct? So now if you calculate this value, then this VBI that you are seeing, right, this VBI will come out to be around 0.718 volts, correct? So this was the first question that they had asked. Now I know VBI, so I can calculate the value of W very easily, right? So what was the formula for W? Root of 2 epsilon SI by Q times VBI into 1 upon Na plus 1 upon Nd. Correct? So let me try to substitute everything. Okay, so what it will be, 2 into epsilon Sn is 11.9 into dielectric constant of free space 8.85 into 10 to the power minus 14, right? So what is the value of Q? 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19, correct? Into what is the value of VBI? 0.718, correct? And let me put 1 upon Na plus 1 upon Nd. So it is nothing but 1 upon 5 into 10 to the power 15 plus 1 upon 5 into 10 to the power 16, correct? And this whole thing, where is the mine? Just a minute. Yeah, and this whole thing that you are seeing, right, it has been raised to the power of 1 by 2, correct? So this is the value of W. Just a minute, where is my pen? Yeah, this is the value of W. Now this W value, if you calculate this equation, it will come out to be around 1.1689 micrometers. So this is the depletion width that you have in micrometers, 1.1689 micrometer, correct? Now we have to find out the value of Xn and Xp, right? So now what is Xn? Xn is nothing but your Na upon Na plus Nd times W, correct? So now let me substitute everything. 5 into 10 to the power 15, correct? Upon 5 into 10 to the power 15 plus 5 into 10 to the power 16 into value of W I have found out 1.1689 micrometers. 1689 micrometers, right? So now this value Xn will come out to be 0.1062 micrometers, correct? So this is the value of Xn that you have. And similarly, just a minute, W is nothing but Xn plus Xp, correct? So if you found out the value of Xp from here, it is nothing but W minus Xn, and this value will come out to be around 1.0626 micrometers. I hope this was clear. Now let me check, have we missed anything or not? Okay, so they have not asked anything. So this part is repeat question, right? VR for 8 equal to VR is equal to 8 volts. So okay, just a minute, I missed one thing. It was given to me that VR is 4 volts, right? So but I have just put the value of VBI over here. See, this is not correct. I have to add the value of 4, correct? This is the VBI, but it has to be added with the VR, because because it is not under zero bias condition. We have a reverse bias quest, right? This is a question of reverse bias, and the depletion width increases when you apply the reverse bias, and you have to add VR with the VBI, correct? So this is what we have added, and this is what I had missed actually initially. Now this next question, this is a homework for you guys. You have to exactly follow the same procedure. Just substitute VR with equal to 8 over here, and you will get all the answers. Okay. So I hope this question was clear. Please feel free to poke me if you guys have any doubts. Now let's move on to the next interesting question. So what this question asks us is the maximum electric field in the reverse bias gallium arsenide PN junction at T is equal to 300 Kelvin is to be limited. Like, so we don't want the electric field inside the depletion region, that is this maximum, to move above this value, right? So this is what they have asked us in the question. The doping concentrations have been given to me, and now they are asking determine the maximum reverse bias voltage, right? So you can just consider it like it's your diode is there, reverse bias PN diode, correct? You are applying a battery like this, correct? And now they have asked us, okay, we don't want this Emax to be reaching above this value. Now how much this voltage is VR, right? How much can I pull this VR such that this Emax limits to this value? If I just increase my VR above this value, then that means the electric field in the depletion region, the maximum electric field will exceed above this value, and I don't want that to happen, right? So now let's see what has been given. So what is the formula for Emax, right? We have seen it, right? When I just did a revision, it is Q times Nd divided by epsilon Si into Xn, correct? And this has been given to me at 7.2 into 10 to the power 4 volts per centimeter. Just to make this picture very much clear, I will just draw this diagram. This is the electric field diagram that you know, right? X, and this is nothing but your E of X, correct? And this is my Emax, correct? And this is what has been given in the question, correct? So I hope it is clear now. So now I know the value of ND, I know the value of Q, I know the value of epsilon SI. So I can easily find out the value of Xn. So now first, okay, I can find out the value of Xn, but what has been asked? It has been asked like what is the maximum reverse bias voltage that I can apply, right? And you know how to, where this voltage, reverse bias voltage term apply, is there, you know the formula for W, right? 2 epsilon SI by Q, VBI plus VR, correct? Into 1 upon Na plus 1 upon Nd. Now to find out this value of VR over here, I have to know each and every other thing, right? I want to know the value of W, I want to know the value of VBI. These are the two unknowns that are present in this equation number 1, right? And so let me highlight this as equation number A. So whatever we are trying to do, we are trying to find out the width of the depletion region, and we are trying to find out this built-in potential, right? So okay, now in the equation number A, you can see that everything is known except the value of Xn. Now how to get the W from Xn, you know, right? What is the Xn? It is nothing but Na divided by Na plus Nd into W. So let me highlight this as equation number B, right? So if I substitute this Xn that will be known from the equation number A into the equation number B, I will be able to get the value of W, right? And this I can put it in the equation number 1 that you are seeing over here, right? Over here, correct? So now that's the procedure. So let's move on to the equation number A, right? So now let me move on to the next page. So equation number A, right? So what was the equation number A? So Q Nd upon epsilon Si times Xn, right? This value was given as 7.2 into 10 to the power 4, right? So now I will just write the Xn on the left side, everything has to be pulled on the right side, right? And I will simultaneously substitute the values as well. What is the epsilon Si? 11.9 into 8.85 into 10 to the power minus 14, correct? Divided by the QND. Q is what? 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19, and the concentration of Nd has been given, right? Nd is 5 into 10 to the power 15, correct? So if we find out the value of this Xn that you are seeing over here, right? So now this value of Xn, it will come out to be something around, let me see, 9.478 into 10 to the power minus 5 centimeters, right? So now let me highlight this equation number C, correct? Now what we are going to do, see this equation number B is there, right? And equation number C is there. So we will use both of them now. Just a minute, yeah. From B and C, correct? So now Xn is what? Na upon Na plus Nd times W, and hence if I want to find W, W will be what? Na plus Nd divided by Na into Xn, correct? Now let me put everything over here. What is Na has been given? Okay, Na is 3 into 10 to the power 16 and Nd is 5 into 10 to the power 15. So 5 into 10 to the power 15 plus 3 into 10 to the power 16, right? Divided by Na. So what is the Na? Na is 3 into 10 to the power 16. 3 into 10 to the power 16, and this is multiplied by the value of Xn that we had just calculated, 9.478 into 10 to the power minus 5 centimeters. So if you calculate this value of over here, the W, then the W you will get is around 1.1057 micrometers. So this is the value of width of the depletion region that you got, right? Now one more thing has been pending. If you look at the equation number 1 over here, right? I know the value of W now, but I don't know the value of built-in potential, right? So I have to find out the VBI, correct? So now how can I find out the VBI? It's very easy. KT by Q ln of NaND by Ni square, correct? I have to use this equation. Now let's substitute each and everything. So KT by Q I already know, 0.0259 into ln of what? Na into Nd, 3 into 10 to the power 16 into 5 into 10 to the power 15, right? And Ni, let me check whether this was a gallium arsenide or silicon. This was a gallium arsenide, right? So Ni is nothing but 2 into 10 to the power 6 the whole square, correct? So now if you find out this value of VBI, then the value of VBI will, just a minute, let me check what it comes out to be. So the VBI will come out to be around 1.1673 volts. So this is the VBI, correct? So now put everything in equation number 1, right? put everything in equation number 1, correct? So now let's try to substitute everything, right? So now W, that this is the equation of the W, right? So now W I had found out already, right? 1.1057 micrometers. 1.1057 micrometers I have to convert into centimeters, right? And what I will be doing, I will be taking the square. So let me write the equation over here again. 2 epsilon SI by Q times VBI plus VR into 1 upon NA plus 1 upon ND. This is what I have. Now what I will be doing, I will be squaring on both the sides of this equation, and I will be directly putting all the values over here, right? So I hope this is fine. What is the epsilon SI? 2 into 11.9 into dielectric constant of free space, correct? And let me, what is the value of Q? 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19. VBI I already know, 1.167 plus VR, right? And 1 upon NA we already know, right? 1 upon NA plus 1 upon ND is 1 upon 3 into 10 to the power 16 plus 1 upon 5 into 10 to the power 15. Only thing unknown in this equation is this VR, right? So now if you calculate and if you substitute all the terms, right, then this VR that you are seeing over here, this VR you will be able to find out to be around 2.813 volts. I hope the question was clear. I will just move on to the flow of the question again. So they are asking us the maximum reverse bias voltage, right? And now I know there was only one equation where this reverse bias voltage appears, right? And now I know it was a formula for W, but I don't know the value of built-in potential. This was not known to me. This was the first thing, and this W, this was the second thing that was not known to me. So what I did, I have to do something to find out the value of W, right? So to find out the value of W, I try to see what has been given. Okay, they gave me the value of maximum electric field, and maximum electric field formula I already know, Q into ND into Xn upon epsilon SI. So from here everything is known except this Xn. This is nothing but the depletion region in the N side, right? So if I know the Xn, then I can easily find out the value of W using this formula, right? Xn is equal to Na upon Na plus Nd times W. So from Emax, I can find out the value of W, right? And VBI is straightforward, KT by Q ln of NND by Ni square. And once we found out these two terms, then only we substituted these two quantities in the equation number 1, and from there we got the value of reverse bias voltage, right? So I hope the question was clear. This was a little bit lengthy, and if you guys have any doubt, please feel free to poke me, right? So now, before moving on to the next question, like it will be based on the forward bias concept. So now let's look what is actually happening, right? Let me turn on the laser pointer just a minute. Yeah, so this was on the left side. This was the case when you are not applying any bias, right? And you have your the constant Fermi level. Why? Because the semiconductor material is in the equilibrium. There is no current flowing, so I mean no net current is flowing actually. So that's why your EF has to remain constant, right? And this bending that happened in the EC, it happened only because of the built-in potential of this PN diode, right? So now this is the bending that happened. Now when we applied a reverse bias, what did I tell you? This thing, right? This thing will, left side will try to go up, right? And the right side will try to go down. So this bending will increase, and what factor by this bending will increase? Q times VR, right? And since you are applying the bias, now your Fermi level concept will be broken into quasi Fermi levels. So this is a P side, so I have a quasi Fermi level for EFP called over on the left side, and EFN on the right side, right? Similarly, when I'm applying a positive bias over here, in the reverse bias case, the left side was going up and the right side was going down. So let me turn on the pen, that will be better actually. Yeah, so this thing, right, that you are seeing, so this thing was trying to go up, right, and this right hand side was trying to go down. Now here the reverse will happen, right? Here your left side will try to go down, right, and your right side will try to go up. And if you look over here, like this is my left hand side and this is my right hand side, correct? So if I bring this side down and if I bring this side up, then this gap that you are seeing, right, this gap will shrink actually. And this is what has been mentioned over here. This gap got shrink, and by what factor? Q times VA factor, where VA is nothing but my applied positive bias, right, over here. So I'm applying the positive terminal of the battery towards the P side and the negative terminal towards the N side, right? And you just have to remember this gap got shrink again the concept of the Fermi, quasi Fermi levels will come, because your semiconductor material is not in the equilibrium, right? And we have to use the quasi Fermi level concept, right? So I hope this part was clear. Now this is again the zoomed version of the energy band diagram that I am showing. This is nothing but your the bending that happened, it got shrink by the factor. And now the difference, this was the important part, the difference between the two quasi Fermi levels, right? It comes out to be Q times VA, right? So the Q times VA is nothing but your applied bias, applied forward bias, right? And if you look into the space charge region, then what is happening? You had holes over here. So now, since a lot of holes, when you are not applying any bias, a lot of holes actually moved from here to here. They left behind the negatively charged acceptor atoms, and on the right side similarly you have a positively charged dopant atoms, right? They cannot move. Now what is actually happening when you apply a positive bias over here, right? So this side is becoming positive, correct? And what is present over here, see, there are free carriers, there are a lot of free carriers over here. The only region where there are no free carriers is your depletion region, right? Which I am highlighting over here by this factor W, correct? So this is the only region where nothing is there, no free carriers are there. But on this P side and on this N side, you have a lot of free carriers. Since you are applying a positive potential on this side, the holes over here that you are seeing, right, there are lot of holes, right? Now they will experience a drift and they will move over here, right? Because of this push from over here, push from the electric field of the battery, these holes will try to move over here. And now what will happen? Initially there were no free carriers that were present in this depletion region W, right? Now holes came here and this hole started to move into this region, right? And now if I zoom into this region, right, if I just show you a zoom picture, correct? So now this was the negatively charged acceptor atoms and this was positively charged donor atoms, right? Now if I start bringing the free carriers into this region, then the definition itself gets violated, right? This was the region where there was no free carriers to be existed, right? So now if I'm bringing these holes, free carriers over here, that means what is happening? This depletion region will reduce, because in this extra width delta, I have now free hole carriers, right? I have now free holes. And why did they came? Because of the push from the battery. Push from the battery, right? Because of the push from the battery, this hole started to move from the left to right. Since this region was defined as there exists no carriers, I already have few carriers in this extra width delta over here, right? And because since I have free carriers, I cannot define this region as a depletion region. So what do you mean? This depletion region has actually started to shrink, right? It got shrink by the factor delta on the left side, and again it will get shrink by the factor from again by some factor on the right side, right? So now that's why you say your depletion region actually gets reduced when you apply a positive bias, right? So this is what I wanted all you to know, and this was an intuitive explanation, right? From the energy band diagram you can clearly see over here, you can clearly see that your what you can say, it is getting shrunk actually, but this intuitive understanding was necessary, right? And now moving on to the concept of excess minority carriers, right? Just bear with me for 2-3 minutes. We will take a short break, just 1-2 minutes after this. Now coming on to this concept of excess minority carriers, what did we say? Okay, so we say that okay, this we wanted to know the concentration of minority carriers because the current that is flowing in the diode, right? So now here you have what is happening, you are pushing a lot of holes from the left side to right side. So you can see over here your energy barrier that you had, it got shrunk, right? And if your energy barriers get shrunk, then the free carriers from one of the side will move to the right and free carriers from the right side will try to move to the left, right? And now we wanted to quantify this amount. Now how did we quantify? Okay, we said that this concentration, right? So how much proportion it was? So we had this equilibrium concentration of holes on the n side, and these are the minority carriers. Why these are minority carriers? Because this is the n side and I am measuring the concentration of holes in the n side. Similarly over here I have a p side, and on the p side I am measuring the concentration of electrons. So this is a minority carrier concentration, right? Now what I am saying, I am pushing a lot of holes from the left side to the right side. So now there will be some concentration of holes that I will be having, and these holes that you are seeing, right, they will act as a minority carriers for this n side, right? Because electrons are the majority carriers in this n side. Now what did we say? Okay, once I am able to find out the concentration over here, then I will be able to apply the diffusion current formula, right? And I will be able to calculate the current density as well as the current, right? If I know the cross sectional area of the diode, right? So now we found out that this concentration, the amount of increase this Pn of Xn is having with respect to this Pn naught is defined by this factor exponential to the power QVA by KT, right? And if you just wanted a intuition from where this term came up, right, then you know this formula, right? Your what you can say, this P is equal to Ni times exponential of, so this is what, EFI minus your EFP by KT, right? So now if this difference of two energy levels got shrunk by the factor QVA, or like if it got shrunk, then you will have this exponential of QVA by KT factor, right? So from here only this factor QVA by KT came actually, right? So this was a simple intuition. And now once we found out, okay, this is the concentration that we have for the holes. Now what did we say? Okay, now let's substitute this. These holes that are present over here, they are minority carrier concentration, and as they try to move from this dot I am presenting you towards the right side, they will recombine heavily because there are a lot of electrons that are present on the right side, right? So this is the equation that gives you that decay, right? You know, this decay happens exponentially. If assuming that this semiconductor material is long enough, this decay happens exponentially, right? And this is what has been written. This decay, as you can see, it is e to the power xn minus x, right? As x is increasing, this exponential factor will decrease, right? So these are the two important equations that I want you to remember. And now if you ask me to plot them, then again this will be nothing but your exponential decay, right? Similarly, the decay will happen from for the electron case as well. The electrons will start decaying from this edge of this depletion region, and they will ultimately reach the equilibrium concentration over here, right? So I hope this was clear. So what we will do now, we will take a short break for 5-6 minutes. We will get refreshed, and after 5-6 minutes we will come back. So please feel free to poke me if you guys have any doubts. The break starts now. Yeah, so I guess we are good to go. Just a minute. Okay, cool. So we have seen the minority carrier distribution and everything, right? So now let me just turn on the pen. Yeah. So now let's move on to the first question of this second session. So what they are mentioning, okay, we have a silicon PN junction, right? And the dopant concentrations have been given, dopant and acceptor concentration. The junction is forward biased, right? And they are asking us to determine the minority carrier concentration at the space charge edges, right? So just to make this picture very much clear, so if I just draw the space charge region, right? Correct. So let's say this was my P side, let's say this was my N side, correct? So now I have some concentration that is present over here, correct? And now it will start to decay like this, correct? It will start to decay. I will have some concentration over here, even it will start to decay, right? And it will ultimately reach over here. And what is this concentration? I'm talking about electrons over here because we are interested in the minority carrier concentration, right? So the equilibrium concentration over here is Np naught, electrons that are present in the P side, right? And similarly, if I look over here, it is nothing but the Pn naught, Pn naught into that exponential factor will be there, right? Because this is what I have told you, like this difference, the difference between this concentration, it is nothing but your exponential to the power QVA by KT, right? This is the difference that we have over here, correct? So now this equilibrium concentration that I was telling you, it was nothing but Pn, correct? So now what we want, they are asking us to find out these concentrations. So the concentration A and the concentration at point number B that I am highlighting. So now let me write it actually. So for point number A, what is it? It is nothing but Np naught, correct, into exponential of QVA by KT. And for point number B, what do I have? Pn naught into exponential of QVA by KT, correct? So VA has been given to me, so this exponential term is not an issue, right? Now I have to find this value Pn naught and Np naught, correct? So can any one of you please help me, just guide me how can I find out these values? This is nothing but the equilibrium concentration far away from this space charge region. This is my space charge region, right? So I will just write it, space charge region, and this np naught that you are seeing over here, it is nothing but the concentration of equilibrium concentration of electrons present at the p side. This is my p side, right? P side, and this was my n side. So can any one of you please help me to calculate how to calculate this np naught value? Just look in the question what has been given. Uh, can you go ahead? I didn't get. Uh, no, no. These concentrations that you are seeing, right? This is exactly at this point number A and point number B. I just want to find these values. But to find these values, first of all, I have to know the equilibrium electron concentration on the P side and equilibrium hole concentration on the N side. These are represented by this NP naught and PN naught, right? So first of all, I have to find these values NP naught. So if I just give you a semiconductor material, let me make a question easy for you. This is your P-type material, correct? And now what I want, there are holes and there are electrons, right? So let me denote the holes as np naught. Sorry, these are the electrons, and let me denote the holes as pp naught, correct? So now these are under equilibrium, right? So now this is not a problem over here. So now if I just want to find out, yeah, exactly good, yeah, correct. So these are the equilibrium concentration that we want, right? So now np naught into pp naught will be nothing but ni square. So this is what I will be using. And what about this pp naught value? What is this pp naught? This is the majority carrier concentration on the p side. And what is the majority carrier concentration on the p side? See, I have used the p type doping, right? This is a p type doping that I have used, and the concentration has been given to me. This value that you are seeing over here, this is nothing but your pp naught, and this value, this nd that you are seeing, right? This is nothing but your nn naught, correct? So now if I know these terms and if I know the ni square, I can easily find out this np naught and pn naught terms, right? So now this is the exact thing that I will be doing now. So now let me find out the np naught. See, np naught into pp naught is ni square, and this pp naught is nothing but na, correct? So np naught will become what? Ni square by na, correct? And this np naught I can find out. Let me see, what is this material? This is silicon, right? So 1.5 into 10 to the power 10 the whole square, right? And what is the Na that has been given to me? Na is nothing but 2 into 10 to the power 6. Na is nothing but 5 into 10 to the power 16. Sorry, 5 into 10 to the power 16, right? So now Np naught will come out. This value, if you find out, right, it will come out to be just 4,500 centimeter inverse. Per centimeter cube. And now similarly I will do this exercise for what you can say on the n side as well. So nn naught into pn naught will be ni square, right? Now this I know, this is nothing but nd, correct? So pn naught I can find out as ni square by nd, correct? And this pn naught will become what? 1.5 into 10 to the power 10 whole square. Again nd has been given to me. What was the nd? Nd was 2 into 10 to the power 16, right? 2 into 10 to the power 16. So the pn naught value, if you calculate this value, this will come out to be around, I guess, 11,250 per centimeter cube. Just see how small these numbers are actually, right? And they should be small because they are the minority carrier concentration, right? Equilibrium minority carrier concentration. Now what I will do, let me highlight it as equation number A. Let me highlight this as equation number B. Now let me go back to the slide and, oh sorry, these are not A because I have used the same notation. So let me highlight it as maybe equation number 1 and let me this as equation number 2, correct? So now what I will do, all this value of 1 and 2 that we have found out, right, they will be putted in this equation number A and equation number B. So these are the equations that I want, right? So now let's start with the equation number A. Equation number A, right? So what was the equation number A? np naught into exponential of qva by kt, right? So this was equation number A. And if I start with equation number B, just a minute, yeah, equation number B, then it is nothing but Pn naught into exponential of qva by kt, right? So now this is the minority carrier concentration at this side, right? On the p side, let me write it, right? What you can say, minority carrier concentration at the edge of the space charge region, at the edge of the space charge region on p side, on p side, right? And this is similarly, this is for n side. Okay, oh, this is clear now. So now let's substitute each and everything. Np naught is what, 4500, and exponential of qva. So this is one kt by q I already know, I guess, right? I guess let me check if I know the kt by q. Yes, kt by q I already know, so it's around 26 milli electron volts. So 26 into 10 to the power minus 3, and now I just have to put the value of va over here, right? So now what is this va? V has been given as around 0.650, so 0.650, right? So now this value, if you find out, right, this value will come out to be around some 3.24 into 10 to the power 14 per centimeter cube, right? And this is nothing but this thing that I am telling you over here. And if you want to notate it mathematically, then you can note it like this: the concentration, the minority carrier concentration n on the p side at the edge of the depletion region, minus xp. Why minus xp? Because you have the depletion region over here. This is 0, right? This is your minus xp, because this is the p side, and here you have xn over here, right? So that's why I have denoted as minus xp. And similarly, if you substitute on the right side, like this equation number b, right, you have the pn naught 11,250 into exponential of, again, the same factor, right, 0.650 divided by 26 into 10 to the power minus 3, right? So if you find out this value, then this will come out to be around 8.1 into 10 to the power 14 per centimeter cube. And if I want to denote it mathematically, then this will be like the minority carrier concentration holes on the n side at the edge of the depletion region plus xn, right? I hope this question was clear. If you guys have any doubt, please feel free to poke me. I will move on to the next question now. This is a very simple and easy question. It came in the GATE 2020, right? Now you guys are gonna solve it. I'm not gonna solve it, right? So which one of the following option describes correctly the equilibrium band diagram at T is equal to 300 Kelvin for a silicon P n n plus p plus plus? What the hell is this? I will tell you. So let's assume that this has been doped with the concentration of 10 to the power maybe 14. Even n has been doped, let's say, with the concentration of 10 to the power 14. N plus is nothing but the heavy doping, right? So let me write it as 10 to the power 16. And now this is p plus plus. It is super heavy doping, right? So now let me denote it as maybe 10 to the power 18, right? So this is what this p plus plus n plus means. Now since this is a GATE question, right? So now can you guys please help me how to solve this question? So we will solve this question by eliminating the option. We won't be drawing the diagram completely. So can you guys please help me which options I can eliminate out of this ABCD? Oh, sorry. Yeah. We have to do something. We have to do some elimination. So some basis has to be there, right? Sorry. B, you want to eliminate? Yeah. Can you please tell me how did you get this? How why you want to eliminate the option number B? Sorry, I didn't get. Only one curve means one curve. Yeah, EV is flat. What happens when semiconductor is in the equilibrium? What happens to when the semiconductor is in the equilibrium? Will I have the concept of quasi Fermi level or anything? No, right? And what happens to the Fermi level? Is it bending or it has to stay flat? Flat, right? So the Fermi level has to stay flat, correct? Now can you please tell me which options I can eliminate based on this logic? C option, of course, I can eliminate. Very good. Uh, okay, B also I can eliminate, right? Very good. Now we have to apply one more thing. See, now these shapes that you are seeing, right? For the option number A and option number D, there is only difference in this part, right? This part, this part, correct? So now I'm just highlighting these sections over here. So now if you look this difference, let me highlight this as delta A maybe, and let me highlight this as delta B, delta B1, I guess, delta B1, and this difference, this small difference, right? This may be delta A2, delta A1 on the left, delta A2 on the right, delta B1 on the left, and delta B2 on the right. Okay, now see, this is difference of what? EC minus EF. I will just write one formula now. You guys will help me to solve this question. N is what? NC exponential of EC minus EF by KT. Correct? Now what does this mean? If EC minus EF is higher, then my electron concentration should also be higher. Correct? This is a simple logic that we will apply. Now based on this logic, can you please tell me, like on this on the option number A, where do you think the electron concentration will be higher? This delta A1 side or this delta A2 side? So let me mark the region as this as A1, this as A2, this as D1, and this as D2, right? So now can you please tell me in which of this region A1 and A2 the electron concentration will be higher based on this equation number 1 that I have written? Sorry, just a minute. This is minus of EC minus EF by KT. Sorry. Yeah, sorry, minus of EC minus EF. Really sorry. So now based on this equation, so this if EC minus EF is actually decreasing, right? If it is decreasing, then your electron concentration will be higher. So the closer the EC with respect to EF, the higher the electron concentration will be, right? And this is what we have also seen, correct? So now can you please tell me in option number A1 or A2, where do you think the electron concentration will be higher? A2, right? So if I write it as N plus over here, okay, and this will be written as N. And in D1 and D2, can you please tell me the same? Where the electron concentration will be higher? D1, right? So this is N plus and this is N, right? Now let's look in the question. This has been given as N. This has been given an N plus. So I have to match this N and N plus, right? So option number A, it is matching. Option number D, it is not matching. The order has been reversed, right? So the option number A is the correct option for the energy band diagram, right? I hope the question was clear. And if you guys have any doubt, please feel free to poke me. Now we will move on to the few MCQ type questions now. Now again you guys will help me to solve. So what is the physical meaning of the area under the curve Ex versus X? So if I just draw the Ex versus X for you. So let's say this is my E of X, right? I'll just draw it for a PN junction, right? So this is my E of X versus X, right? So now they are asking me if I just took the area under this graph, what it will come out to be. Whether it will be band gap of the semiconductor, net space charge density, whether it will be a built-in potential or it will be a total doping density. What do you guys think? Potential, right? Exactly. So now just to express this mathematically, area under any graph, right? It is nothing but the integration, right? E of X dx, correct? And you know your E is nothing but your minus dV by dx, correct? So if I just integrate on these both sides, V is nothing but your minus of E of X dx, correct? And now if you integrate it from this, not 0, sorry, 0, maybe this is minus xp and xn. If you calculate the area, integrate it over all the sides, then you will get the built-in potential. So your answer was correct. Very good. The option number 3 is the correct option. Now let's move on to the next question. In a one-sided PN junction, right? The width of the depletion region varies with. So what is the one-sided PN junction? So you have a P over here and you have a N over here. But the only difference is your ND is super highly doped. So I can write it as maybe N plus plus. This is what we have also seen in the previous question, right? That gate question. So this is what we have, right? Now we know what is the width of the depletion region? Root of 2 epsilon Si by Q times VBI, right, into 1 upon Na plus 1 upon Nd. Correct? Now what I am saying, Nd is much greater than Na. Correct? Now if I just take 1 upon on both the sides, then 1 upon Nd will be much lesser than 1 upon Na. Correct? Now if I substitute this condition over here, right, this will be what? 2 epsilon Si by Q times VBI into, I already know 1 upon N is already higher, right? So I can ignore this 1 upon Nd. So I'm just left with 1 upon Na, right? So now from this equation, if we try to deduct, right? So I will just write it over here, maybe. Correct? So the first thing that I get from this equation is W is directly proportional to root of VBI, and the second thing is W is inversely proportional to root of Na. So this is the option that I have to match, and again you can see this is nothing but the second option. Correct? So I have the easy question was clear. Now this is a very important problem, and this question will help to, like, someone of you had asked me the doubt, what is the relation between your energy band gap and your built-in potential, right? So this question will help to solve that problem. So now let's move on to this question. So the doping concentration in a uniformly doped silicon PN junction, they have given the concentrations. Approximate the temperature at which the built-in potential barrier is VBI is equal to 0.95 volts, right? So now what we will do, so they have given me the VBI, right, at particular temperature T, right, and now they are asking me just guess the value of T, whether it will be 0, whether it will be 300, whether it will be less than 300, whether it will be greater than 300, right? So now how are we going to solve these questions? So first of all, this is the question where I have to find the variation of VBI with respect to temperature, right? So these parameters have been given, right? So at 300 Kelvin temperature, I will get certain value, let's say VBI naught, correct? And now this VBI is given as 0.95 volts. Now if I just find out how this VBI varies with the temperature, for example, if temperature increases, then VBI increases. If we found out this, right, if we find out that if temperature increases, then VBI will increase, then we will be very sure that if this VBI naught that you are seeing over here, right, we have to calculate its value, and if this value, right, if it comes out to be something like maybe 0.6 or something, right, then what do we know? Ki, okay, our VBI has increased, right, that means our temperature must have increased, right? Now if we find out that as temperature is decreased, then VBI will increase, right? Then, and if we find out that this VBI comes out to be around 0.6 volts, right, then how can we deduct? Okay, so from going from 0.6 volts to 0.95 volts, what has happened? My VBI has increased, right? If my VBI has increased, that means the temperature will be decreased, right? So that means the output will be this VBI value will be at a temperature less than 300 Kelvin, correct? And for the first case, it was greater than 300 Kelvin, right? So we have to intuitively guess first using some mathematical equations how the VBI will vary with temperature, right? So now let's use some mathematical equations, and in the next step I will also do some intuition also, right? So now first let's write the equation of VBI. It is nothing but KT by Q ln of NaND, correct, upon Ni square. Now we have two terms varying with the temperature. This T is there and this Ni is also there, right? So now I will write the expression for Ni, because Ni has also a temperature dependence, right? So we have to quantify it. So ln of NaND, what was the expression for Ni square? NcNV into exponential of minus Eg by Kt. This is the expression for Ni square, right? Now what I will do, I have to take the log, right? So I will be separating the numerator and denominator in the log, right? So now this will become like VBI is what? Your KT by Q ln of NaND, correct? Minus KT by Q. So what I will be doing, in the denominator itself I have these two terms. One is the product of Nc and V and another is the exponential, right? So both of them, if I take on the numerator, see, ln of A upon BC is what? Your ln A minus ln B minus ln C, right? This is the exact same thing that I am doing over here. So now this KT by Q ln of Nc and V minus kt by q, right? We have a exponential and we have a log, right? So this exponential and log will cancel with respect to each other, and we will be just left with minus cg by kt, right? So now if I just write it down like this, maybe this kt will cancel, right? So this will be eg by q. So eg by q plus kt by q ln of NAND minus kt by q ln of NCNV. Now here comes the first answer to the question that has been asked to me in the last lecture. How the EG relates with the VBI, right? As you can clearly see, I have not made any assumption till now over here. I have just put the expression for the NI, and now you can clearly see this VBI, right? It is directly proportional to the EG by Q, right? And now why this was important, because you can, this was the screenshot that has been taken from the sir's lecture. So sir had taken 4 materials, right? So this was your germanium on the over here, then you had a silicon highlighted in the blue, correct? Then you had a gallium arsenide highlighted in the green, and in the violet you have a gallium nitride, correct? And what did you say? Your VBI that you are seeing over here, right? It depends on the energy band gap. The higher the band gap the material has, the more will be the built-in potential. And this is what has been shown over here. For the gallium nitride, you have a higher built-in potential compared to the gallium arsenide, which has been shown over here. It is higher compared to the silicon, and the built-in potential of silicon is higher compared to the germanium, right? And now this was just a mathematical proof of the same. Your VBI is exactly proportional to EG that you got over here. So I hope the person who asked this question in the last session, like how the EG relates with the VBI, I had not given the direct answer, but this question I hope it gives you the clear answer now. Okay. Now we will, what we will do, this NC and NV, right? This NC and NV, like even they have the temperature proportion, right? They vary like T to the power 3 by 2 and T to the power 3 by 2, right? And I'm not writing that complicated expression, something like 2 pi, some ME star and all that stuff is there, right? But what I want how this temperature dependence will be there, right? So now what I will do, I will just write them as maybe A1 star T to the power 3 by 2 and maybe A2 star T to the power 3 by 2, right? And now what my job is, I just want to make this VBI as simple expression of temperature as possible, right? So now this is a constant. I will highlight it by the factor C over here, right? And now what I will do, even this thing that you are seeing over here, right? Ln NAND by Q, even this is not varying with the temperature, so I will highlight this by maybe a factor of, I guess, A0, right? A0, correct? So now let's substitute the things. VBI is what? Your C plus A0 into T, because you have a T over here, I cannot remove this, right? A0 times T is there, right? And minus KT by Q ln of what? A1 star T to the power 3 by 2, A2 star T to the power 3 by 2, right? So now what I will be doing, I will be making this as a new constant and I will take the log of them, right? So what it will become like C plus A0 T minus maybe what I will do, okay, KT by Q, okay, let me write all the steps, that will be better. Maybe A3 star, correct? T cube, this 3 by 2 plus 3 by 2 became 3, right? So now what I will do, I will expand this log of AB is what? Your ln A plus ln B, right? So this is the same thing that I will be applying. So now your VBI will become like C plus A0 T minus what it will become, KT by Q ln of A3 star, correct, minus 3 KT by Q ln of T, correct? Now these are all this is again a constant, right? So now what I will represent it with A1 minus A1 times T, this K by Q into ln of A3 star. This has been represented by A1, right? And again I will do the same thing for here. This will be this constant that you are seeing, right? This will be represented by A2. So A2 into T ln of T, correct? So now let me just write it very quickly. This is C plus A0 minus A1 times T minus A2 times T into ln of T, correct? Now I will just give this as a homework for you guys, and this will be very much easier. Now you guys have to prove that the value of a1 is much higher compared to a0, right? So this value of a1 is much higher compared to a0, and you guys have to prove this. This is just a simple homework for you. I won't be proving this because it will become too long over here, right? So now what is the purpose of doing this? Because I just wanted to tell you that this term will be a negative. This term will be a negative proportion of t, right? So now if I highlight, if I just replace this with a negative constant, a0 minus a1 will be replaced with minus a3, right? Because this is a negative. So this will be left with c minus a3t minus a2 times t ln t. Now what did we get? You can clearly see from this expression that as I increase my temperature, as T is increased, you can clearly see this term, this will increase, even this T into log T term will increase, right? And both of them have a negative sign. So that means as temperature is increasing, my VBI will decrease, right? This is what I got from the mathematical understanding, right? So as temperature will increase, my VBI will decrease actually, right? So now what I will do, now we have to find out the VBI at 300 Kelvin, right? So now first we will find out the VBI at 300 Kelvin. Let me make some space over here, right? So VBI is what? KT by Q log of NA upon Ni square, right? And now if you just substitute everything, right, this KT T is 300 Kelvin, so 0.0259 log of this product of Na and D that you are seeing, right, it will come out to be 8 into 10 to the power 31 and divided by your Ni square, right? You know the value of Ni, so 2.25 into 10 to the power 20. I know this has become mess, but I don't have a space unfortunately. This VBI, this that you are seeing over here, right, it will come out to be 0.688 at 300 Kelvin. Okay, at 300 Kelvin. And now what logic we found out? This is the logic that we found out. As temperature is increasing, VBI is increasing. So now let me make a short table over here. T is equal to 300 Kelvin, right? My VBI, this is my VBI. VBI was found out to be 0.68, right? 0.688, correct? And one more thing that has been given in the question is VBI at 0.95 volts. So this is VBI at 0.95 volts. And now they are asking me what is the temperature over here, right? And now I have just found out as temperature is increasing, right, my VBI actually decreases. So if so over here my VBI has increased. If my VBI has increased, this clearly means that my temperature has been decreased, right? So this temperature is less than 300 Kelvin. Correct? So I hope this question was clear. If you guys have any doubts, then please feel free to poke me. The option number 2 is the correct option. The question might seem very easier, but if you try to get the intuitive sense using the mathematics, then it became a lot lengthier, right? So I hope this question was clear. If you guys have any doubts, please feel free to poke me. I will be moving on to the next question. Now this is a good question, the problem number 11. Consider a uniform n-type bar within which a thin sheet of negative charge has been embedded, right? So this, just a minute, yeah, this thin sheet that you are seeing, right, this has been embedded, correct? And this charge is fixed in the lattice and cannot move, right? So this forces the majority carrier electrons to rearrange and satisfy the Poisson's equation. Why the electrons? Because this semiconductor is n-type doped, right? So the majority carriers are electrons. So now what will happen? Now assume the sheet charge density Qn in it as shown in the figure. So this negative charge that you are seeing, right, it has a sheet density of Qn over here. Now there are two questions that have been asked. First, we have been asked to plot the electric field with respect to distance, and now we have been asked to find out the depletion region width, right? So now let's draw the charge density. So how you get the electric field diagram? So the method is like you draw the charge density, right? You draw the charge density diagram first, then from there you draw the electric field diagram, and from there you draw the potential diagram, right? So this is the normal step that we have to follow, right? So now let's draw the charge density. So this is very bad. Just a minute, let me erase it. So now let me turn on the pen. Yeah. So now let me draw it. So how it will become like, okay, this is my x, correct? and now I have a negative charge sheet. See this sheet that you are seeing, it is exactly present at x equal to 0. It doesn't have any width, right? So in the signals and systems you may have seen, right, a function which does not have any width and still has that amplitude, it is nothing but your delta function, right? You have a qn over here, and this is x equal to 0. Now if I have a immobile negative charges that are present over here, so what will happen, these dopants are there. This dopant may be a phosphorus, right? Now it had one electron with it, right? But because of this negative charge density, that electron got pushed away and I was only left with the positive immobile phosphorus atom, right? The positively charged immobile atom. So now because of that I got a positive charge on the right, and since this sheet has been inserted exactly at the center, I will get this immobile positive ions on the right as well as the left of the sheet, right? This is what exactly has been shown over here. So I will draw this positive and negative sheet, and note that this will have the width now, correct? This will have the xd as well as the xd on both the sides, correct? Because this is not a metal, right? This is a semiconductor. So if it was a metal, then you would have accumulated these charges, these positive charges in a very short amount of width, right? But since because of this is a semiconductor, you have to spend some width to accumulate these charges, which will balance out this charge, negative charge, right? So now let me highlight this width, like from here, this is plus plus, and this is my xd, correct? And again here also I will have this plus plus, and again I will have a xd, right? So I have a depletion region on both the sides, right? And now this is my charge density diagram, correct? Rho of x, so coulombs per centimeter cube, correct? Now how to find out the electric field from it? We have to integrate it, of course, right? So now what I can do, like I have to integrate it. So I already know, right, dE by dx is what? Rho by epsilon, correct? So E is nothing but 1 upon rho epsilon integration of rho dx, correct? Now what I want, this is a positive constant, this is a positive thing that is present, right? So maybe I want to highlight it as maybe q times nd, right? This is q times nd because q, this is how you write the charge, right? We want it in terms of coulombs. So now if I put it a rho as a q nd over here, then all of you will agree that this will become a ramp, right? This will come as a linear function. So now if I try to draw the electric field on this side over here, correct? So I have a ramp signal, that is linear signal over here. Now what happens at this point, right? So can anybody please tell me, if I integrate the delta function, then what I get generally? If I integrate the delta function from minus infinity to infinity, what will I get? Step signal, right? So you will get a step signal. So now I have an amplitude over here, like for the charge density I have amplitude. Now if I move, like what is a step signal? It moves suddenly, right? It has a transition time of like within let's say this is my delta, correct? So how the step signal moves? It moves instantaneously. It doesn't take any time to move from one amplitude to another amplitude, right? So let's say this is A, this is B. So this is exactly at the same time instant t naught. From going to A to B, I don't take any time, and since this is a negative delta function, this will be a negative transition, right? This will be a negative transition like this. So from here I have to make a negative transition. So I will go on the bottom, right? Exactly over here within the zero time. Within the zero time I have made this change over here, right? And now again on the right I have this positive charge density, right? And again if I integrate the positive charge density, right, I will get a linear positive slope, right? And the only way I can draw a positive slope is like this, correct? So this is how I got the electric field diagram, E of x versus x. And now we have to check whether this option is there in the question or not, right? So yeah, so this is the option that we got, right? So it first increased, right? It first increased, then it made a sudden transition, right? And again it increased, right? So this option number C is the correct option. Now the next question was the condition for the depletion region width which satisfy the charge neutrality, right? So now what was the question? So we already know how to satisfy the charge neutrality, right? So let me draw the diagram again. This was your Qn, right? And now correspondingly you have this sheet, right? You accumulated the charges over here. Let's say this is xd let's say this is also xd, correct? And this is what, this is my charge density diagram, rho of x versus x. And I already told you this is nothing but your q times nd, because you have n type semiconductor. So now if I just write the charge neutrality equation, right? So this is the negative charge that I have, negative sheet charge qn, right? And I have to get the positive charges. How will I get the positive charges? This is the areal sheet density, right? Its units are per centimeter square, right? So now I have to multiply this q and d with xd, because this unit that you are seeing are coulomb per centimeter cube. So from here to get to the per centimeter square, I have to multiply by this width xd. So q nd times xd, this is just for the left side rectangle that I am highlighting over here, right? Now similarly the same will be happening for the right side rectangle as well, right? So again I have to multiply, again I have to add the same thing, q nd times xd. So your qn became like 2q nd times xd. So your xd became what? Qn upon 2q nd. Now xd is just the half of the depletion width, right? I have the entire depletion region width to be calculated, because this is what has been asked in the question. So the entire depletion width w is nothing but 2xd. So it will come out to be qn upon q times nd. I hope the question was clear. This was a little bit new type of question. So if you guys have any doubts, then please feel free to poke me at any time, right? I'll be moving on to the next. Yeah, go ahead. The Poisson's equation I must have highlighted, right? Just a minute. Let me go back maybe. I guess just a minute. I guess in the very beginning I may have mentioned. You are seeing this equation, right? Over here, this dou square, this equation that you are seeing, right? If you just consider this part, right? This part, like dou square phi by dou x square is your rho by epsilon. So this is your Poisson's equation actually. Yeah, correct. And your phi is nothing but your potential, right? And rho is nothing but your charge density. Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's from maths. Yeah, it's from maths. Yeah, correct. Correct. Okay, I hope so. Everything was clear. Now, let me see. Like, we don't have a lot of time. Let me see how much time the next numerical will take. And maybe we will solve maybe only half of the part. Just a minute. Okay, we had one more question. Okay, so now this was the again a successor question, right? So now what is the built-in potential across the junction, right? So I will just ask you one thing. So you already know how to calculate the built-in potential, right? You have E of x versus x, right? Now to calculate the built-in potential, what we do, minus of integration E of x dx, correct? And how did we calculate the electric field diagram? It was like this, right? It was like this, then from here it moved till this bottom point, right? Sudden change, and from again here we had it moved again up, right? So this is xd and this is minus xd, right? So now if I just assume this as maybe e naught, even this is my minus e naught, right? So can any one of you please tell me what is the area of this left half side, the area of this triangle, this triangle? Yeah, half xd into e naught, right? And similarly, if I try to calculate for the right hand side, it will be what? Half into xd into minus e naught, right? So now if I just add these two things, half into xd into e naught minus half into xd into e naught, right? What did you get? 0. So the built-in potential for the diagram that they had given, they had inserted a charge sheet density, right? So the built-in potential for this is exactly 0, because your electric field profile that you are seeing over here, right? The area is exactly negative for the left and the right half, right? What used to happen in our PN junction? So when you had a normal PN junction, what was the electric field it was looking like? This was x, this was my E of x, right? It looked something like this, correct? Now if I take the area, entire area, this will come out to be net negative, right? And if you just take the magnitude, this will come out to be positive. But here it is exactly opposite over here. The area on the left half side is exactly negative of the right half side. So the moment I add them, they will add to the zero. Over here I at least have some finite potential, that is the integration e of x dx, correct, for your pn junction is not equal to 0. But if I do it for this question, it is coming out to be 0 over here, right? And the who is the main culprit? The electric field profile that you saw. And who is the main culprit of the electric field profile? The charge density, that you saw, correct? So this was a unique question where you have, sorry, material, if the built-in potential is zero, yeah, exactly, so it will behave like a conductor. But note that it has the depletion region. The conductor will never have the depletion region, please remain, like if you make a diode out of this, then it will be a best diode that you can design. But the problem is it won't act like a complete metal, because you still have a depletion region, right? The metal does not have a depletion region, correct? So this was a unique question where you had the depletion region, but despite having the depletion region, your VBI came out to be 0. So of course, if you make a diode out of it, it will be a best semiconductor diode. But if you tell me whether it is acting like a metal, then I would still say no. I hope this was clear. So we will stop here, guys. Like I had a few more questions, but that's okay. We have already solved a lot of questions. So I'm open for any doubts. Like we still have 4-5 minutes. So if you guys want to ask me anything, then I'm free for next 5-6 minutes. Yeah, thank you. Any part, any question that you didn't get, you want me to repeat? Was everything clear or it went very fast? Everything is right? Okay, great. Okay, so main ex main exam is, I don't think it is a subjective base, at least for this course. As far as I know, the exam won't be subjective. They will ask you fill in the blank, like you know those fill in the blank kind of numericals, right? Where you have to where the answer can vary from minus infinity to infinity. So those type of questions will be there. The descriptive answer questions won't be there. So you will have the multiple choice questions, and you will have that fill in the blanks type of questions where you have to enter the numerical answer. Online calculator they will provide you, the you won't be able to use your own calculator, so they will provide you the online calculator. So what happens when you register for the exam, right? So 1 week before the exam, when the hall ticket gets released, so they generally give you one link and they allow you to practice on that online calculator. So it's a little bit tedious, but you have to accommodate with that. And for calculation, the rough sheets will be given actually. Okay, somebody just mentioned something in the chat section. I guess, let me see. In problem 6, the mass action law. Okay. Just a minute. What was the question? Let me turn on the pointer. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. So, what was your doubt? Can you please unmute yourself? Yeah. Haha. Yeah. Yeah, see, it's a equilibrium carrier concentration, right? So now, if I am in the equilibrium, then I can easily use the mass action law. See, this may seem little bit weird that I have already mentioned that my junction is the forward bias, right? And you may be wondering that how can I use the law of mass action, right? But note that this, I am not using it everywhere. I am using it only in the place where I want to find this equilibrium carrier concentration. Of course, this is a composite semiconductor material. I have a p side, I have a n side, I have a depletion region, right? But you may have heard that if in the region far away from the depletion region, you generally don't have a electric field. Like in the last lecture, maybe the recombination and generation current lecture, some may have mentioned that there is a little bit finite amount of electric field is there, but that is very small actually, right? So now if the part of that semiconductor material that I am considering, right, if it is under equilibrium, and there I don't have a concept of quasi Fermi levels, right? That is what we generally tell. The quasi Fermi level concept will come when you have the forward and reverse bias, but the far away from the junction, your semiconductor material is still in the equilibrium, right? So to find out this equilibrium carrier concentration, I use this mass action law. If you had asked me, can I use the same when near the junction or inside the depletion region or somewhere, then I would have said no. But since I am using it only to find out the NP naught value, and this NP naught is far away from the depletion region, I can still use it actually. Was it clear? Okay, great. Which formula? Uh, Sorry, which formula? I didn't get. Can you tell me what does? Yeah, go ahead, go ahead. Uh, just a minute. Wait. Mm, Hey, okay. I got it. Let me do it. Just a minute. I got what you are saying. See, actually, he was saying this. We have this concentration over here, right? And these electrons, the electrons that have been injected from here, like what it was assumed that there is no recombination and generation that is happening in the depletion region. Just forget about the last lecture, but this is for the ideal PN junction, right? Your generation and recombination comes only when you have a traps in the depletion region, right? Assume there are no traps. Now, if I write the concentration over here, the electron concentration, then it will be what? Np naught exponential of QVA by KT, right? This is the electron concentration on this side. This is the whole concentration on exactly at this point, that is the edge of the space charge region. Now if I just multiply these two things, right, what I will get? Pn at xn into Nn at xn, right? It will be what? It will come out to be Np naught into Pn naught, right, into exponential of QVA by KT, right? So now if you try to find this out, right, so what it will become? NP naught is what? I already told you. NP naught into PP naught is Ni square and PP naught is Na, right? So NP naught has been replaced by Ni square by Na. Similarly, you can replace it with by Ni square upon Nd over here. So it became like Ni to the power 4 upon Na into Nd. Were you talking about this or you were talking about something else? Yeah, so at the edge you generally find the concentration like this. Like if you want to find out the product of N and P at exactly this space charge edge, right? You generally find out like this, right? Okay, so I have this. Yeah, no issues. Yeah, sure. Okay, guys. Last chance to ask any question if you have. If not, then we will close the session. Any more questions? Okay, no questions. Then we will close the session. Thank you guys for attending the session. I will upload the video by tomorrow. Maybe by tonight also I will be able to upload. So I will upload the notes in the description section, and you will be able to find everything over there. And also there is a Excel sheet tab in the. If you go to the course page, there is a mention about the recorded sessions, right? So there you will find the Excel sheet. So there also I will be uploading the same link. So thank you guys for attending the session.